maybe we don't just create characters, maybe sometimes they help create us too. So, our theme so far in this podcast has been about how I feel like I write what I want to know, not what I know. And a thought came to me. I think that maybe certain characters exist because some part of us need them to exist. Not just because they fit the story or that they move the plot forward, but because they're emotionally healing for us. Maybe they're showing us something about ourselves that we didn't know. Um, I'm not sure writers even realize they do that. I didn't realize I did it until I started going back and looking at things, looking at the books that I've written so far, looking at the characters I've created, and really honestly started doing the little blurbs that I started doing before I started this podcast, where I was tying my own life to the book I'd written. Um, I feel like each character represents something in my life, just little pieces of me, not necessarily an exact person, but more like emotional truths or feelings. I think Maggie represents a resilience that I never had. Despite everything that's going on, she keeps going. She jumps in with both feet. She's making friends. She's solving problems. She continues reaching outward instead of reaching inward and shut down. And as we've mentioned before, I tend to shut down, and then in the end, if I things don't get better, I leave. But it's not just Maggie in this story. Ginny, the mom of the girls, she is something, she represents something I never had. She tries to understand who they are. She supports where they're going. She trusts their instincts and their feelings. And she's supportive in a way that allows her kids to be themselves. And I love that. She also talks to them. She doesn't hide things. She doesn't live her life like she's just governing over them and that they don't understand what's going on. She talks to them. It's like they're partners. They help make the decisions, and if there is a decision that she has to make for them all, she explains it to them so they understand why she had to make that choice. I feel that I raised my children that way. My children are grown and I have grandchildren now, and I do feel that I raised my children that way, but that's not the way that I was raised in my household. We just had to follow along with whatever decisions our parents made. And as I've mentioned before, that involved a lot of moves in a lot of states and a lot of cities and a lot of houses. So I really like that about her, and I really connect with that as something that I tried to do with my own children that wasn't something I had experienced myself growing up. I think sometimes we also write in people that we wish we'd had. Maggie had Shelley, a friend that she had known since she was 5 years old in kindergarten, and now they're 16. So, they pretty much grew up together, and that is not something I ever experienced. And then she moves to this new town, and now she has Colin. The first person she met seems to be someone who's resilient and just seems to be someone who's going to stick around. Just somebody that she needed right at the moment she needed them. Um, I find that interesting, and I find that happens a lot in real life. It's amazing how as you go through life and things happen and things change, there almost always seems to be that person that you need right at the moment. And they may be short term, it may be something that's there for a few days, and it may be somebody that's long term that's around for years. But I do find it fascinating how there just almost always seems to be the person there that you need for whatever reason. um I never really had any long term friends until in my 40s. And I do have two long term friends right now, one of which, funny enough, I've never actually met. I have a friend that I've known in the UK for going on 20 years now. We've never met, but we talk on through social media, we talk through texting, we talk on the phone through or video chat, but we've never actually met. And sometimes we go a long time without talking, but when we do get together, it's like we never stopped. And I find that really cool and fascinating. And then I also have a friend here locally, someone that I've known since I think 2011, and we've just been good friends forever. And despite the fact that, hey, I'm leaving again as we get ready to relocate, I know that she's someone that will be in my life for the rest of my life, regardless of where either one of us are at. And I love that. And I feel like recognizing that through writing Maggie and the fact that she's able to make the connections she's had in the book, some of which might be short term, but I think that a lot of them, including Colin, are going to be long term for her. I just love that she's able to have that. So, the last thing we talked about was having people show up in our lives that are just what we need. And I think that um, we do, as writers, write about people we need in our lives. Maybe somebody we needed that didn't show up. I think that does happen. But I think readers find that as well. Readers find characters that they wish were people that they knew. Um, I think that these are the characters that stay with us for years. You know, the ones that 20 years down the road, you're like, oh, yeah, that's what that person would have done. Um, I'm not sure why. Did they make us feel understood? Did they make us feel safe? Did they make us feel less alone? I think that that's a big one in my life. Or did they justify hard decisions that you had to make or feelings that you had to feel that weren't necessarily pleasant or wanted? Um, I'm not sure that people who don't read or write would understand that. I feel like reading is emotional. It's an emotional journey, whatever the story is that you're reading. And I don't know that people would understand that. It's not just an escape. Although, you know, if it is an escape, what are you trying to escape from? Maybe it is just what you need at that moment. That's why I've become fascinated with the connection between storytelling and healing. Because as I get deeper into writing, the more I write fiction isn't separate from real life at all. It's woven through it. And maybe the characters that stay with us the longest are the ones that help us survive something, even quietly, help us learn something about ourselves that we didn't realize or purposely hid from ourselves. So now I'm curious. What fictional character has stayed with you for years, and why do you think they did? Because I don't think we connect to stories by accident. I think that sometimes we find part of ourselves written deep within them that helps us explain ourselves. And maybe that's why stories mean so much. Maybe we don't write what we know. Maybe we write what we needed.